Today we're talking all about thought reversals, but how you can use them beyond just video. Stay tuned. Hi, I'm Brandon Lucero, and you're about to experience the new way to thrive in business, entrepreneurship, and life by leaning into who you are, what you love, and standing up for what you want to create. Get ready, because this is where we go against the grain, say no to outdated society norms, and we say yes to change in order to create a happier, more fulfilled world. Welcome to the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast. Today, we're talking all about thought reversals. Now, if you don't know what a thought reversal is, chances are that if you've been following us, me, Solo Video, Brandon Lucero, this podcast for a while, you understand and know what a thought reversal is. But I want to kind of talk about what a thought reversal is, how do we use them before we get into how to use them beyond just video. Now, most people think a thought reversal is a style of content. And it is. It really is. It is a style of video. It's a style of video that literally saved me and saved my business a few times. We'll talk about that in this episode today. But really what it is more of a concept to help your audience see something better, live in a better perception, put on a new lens. But really at the end of the day, it's to help end suffering. And what's happening right now, and you guys, if you've listened to any of the episodes on this podcast, you understand how people form reality or how beliefs are formed. And the thing is most people don't understand that a belief isn't necessarily true, because the scary thing about a belief is that it appears real. It seems like it is reality. For example, if you fail at a webinar 5 times, it feels very real that webinars don't work, or that you fail at webinars, or webinars don't work for you. However, it's just the belief. It's just an experience that you went through that started to form, that your mind subconsciously started to form some kind of reality, and you've been living there. What thought reversals do, and why they're so powerful, is they end that suffering for your audience. So your audience has all sorts of beliefs. You know, for us inside of our space, when we were doing a lot of video content, one of the beliefs were, I'm afraid of the camera. And so what we would do, and one of our most powerful types of content was literally titled, You're Not Afraid of the Camera. It went against the belief. And we had this message in there that you're not actually afraid of the camera. And we had all these examples of how they've been using the camera without being afraid, like taking selfies or getting their picture taken. And we revealed that they're actually more afraid of judgment. And so what we did is we released them from this fear of I'm afraid of the camera. Now that fear was stopping them from producing content that would grow their business. So they were experiencing some kind of suffering, which was not using video, not growing their business, not putting out content. And because of a thought reversal video, we were able to end that suffering for them. And you can do this, and there's so many different types of beliefs. We'll talk about the different types of beliefs that you can use. We'll talk about how to actually put together a thought reversal video. But the idea here is you need to identify these beliefs inside of your space, inside of your audience. And when you can properly reverse those thoughts, you end the suffering that person was experiencing. And when we say suffering, I'm not talking about like physical pain, like literally suffering. It could be emotional pain. It could be, if you help people lose weight, it could be the suffering of not losing weight and putting in work or plateauing. If you help someone, find happiness in their life, there could be beliefs that they're holding that are actually stopping them from finding happiness. There's so many different ways to use this. And what we've taught for a really long time is you want to use this in content. You want to start putting thought reversal videos out there because number one, it's polarizing. Number two, your message is not playing in the middle. You're not vanilla, you're chocolate with sprinkles or whatever, on the side. You're playing on the edges with your messaging. You're standing out because you stand for something. But in my opinion, using a thought reversal and freeing someone from what I call the belief box is one of the most powerful and transformational things that you can do for anybody. And it's not always how-to content. It's not always education. It's not always tutorials and instructional videos that add value into people's lives. Because here's the thing. If I give someone a tutorial on how to craft their messaging, but they have this huge limiting belief that stops them from actually creating a powerful message, the tutorial's no good. It's a waste. they're going to get the tutorial and they're never going to use it because I'm not addressing the belief that they have, but thought reversals do exactly that. So how do we start to put together a thought reversal video? Where do we focus on? And then how do we use thought reversals to beyond just video? How do we use them in our own life? How do we use them in ads, webinars, sales funnels, sales calls? We'll talk all about that. Now, the one thing that I want you guys to realize about this is that thought reversal videos, they are very powerful, but they can be too much, meaning that these just like how-to content shouldn't be 100% of your content. And you guys hear me say that all the time. Like, and I use Gary Vaynerchuk as the example all the time. He grew the fastest out of anyone, and probably anyone ever will. And when he started his business, he didn't do traditional how-to content. He's doing a little bit of it now. But when he grew the fastest, he didn't really use any how-to content or any traditional step 1, step 2, step 3 type of content, but he grew the fastest. So I always tell people, look, if you do 100% how-to educational content, you're going to blend in because you're basically going to have the same content as all the other experts in your space. You relatively all going to teach the same thing. Thought reversals kind of break you out of that, what I call the content circle of death. They allow you to stand out. But just like how we shouldn't do how-to content 100% of the time, we shouldn't be using thought reversals content 100% of the time. And a couple of reasons why is you're going to find that the more thought reversals you put out, the more I guess evidence, or the more you're going to start to realize there's going to be a certain type, like a couple different thought reversal topics that are going to stand out more than the others. And you really want to pay attention to those and lean into those, because as you guys are going to realize, you can actually start to use those in entire marketing campaigns. We're going to talk more about that in the future. But number 2 is it is polarizing. It is perspective shifting, but you have to understand if we're going to go in and we're going to try to shift someone's beliefs, they're going to want to hold on to the belief. You have to do a really good job to discredit the belief that they have and do a really good job laying down the solution or the new belief in order for them to see that transformation. It's a lot of work for your audience to do, a lot of emotional work. It's a lot of like subconscious work for them to do that. Their natural tendency will to be not to want to shift and to hold on to their belief. And that's just like by human nature. So if you're constantly going in there and saying, this thing that you thought was real is not real, this thing that you thought is real is wrong, this thing that you thought was real is not, and they're always the best, and you do that over and over and over and over and over again, you're literally going to your audience and slapping them across the face every single time you post a video. And if you do that 100% of the time, it's going to either plateau, it's either going to have the reverse effect where people are going to be like, this person just telling me I'm wrong all the time, I'm going to tune out. And we only know this from experience. This is exactly what we did. I thought reversal videos were working so well for me. They saved my business a few times. I was like, let's lean into this. We did it for almost 6 months straight. And then we started to see a plateau in the audience. And because they just got so used to me saying everything else was wrong that they didn't really pay attention. This polarization didn't really have the same effect. And so we want to use them 25 to 30% of the time, generally is kind of what we want to use as actual content. But what I want to talk about, and we'll talk about how to actually use them here in a second, but I want to talk about the creation of thought reversal and how it came to be, because this is going to be something we talk about heavy in the second part of this episode, or in about 15 minutes or whenever we got there. So for those of you who don't know what a thought reversal video is, basically what we want to do is we want to identify 3 different types of beliefs. We have industry norms, we have limiting beliefs, and then we have objections. So an industry norm is something that 90% of your audience is just literally going to think is true. This is stuff that's been taught a certain way for the last 5, 10, 20, 30, 50 years. It's just been, this is the way it's always been. That is the normal way to do it. And people don't even question it. So they literally think this is the right way. This is the way I'm supposed to do it. That's what we'd call an industry norm. So for me, this would be things like how-to content, how people teach, and every guru out there teaches how-to content is how you add value. It's how you grow an audience. It's how you build a business online. And that advice has not changed in the last 10 years. It's literally been the same advice when I started 8 years ago that everyone was telling you to do. And you know what? 8 years ago, it worked because there wasn't a lot of experts, but now more and more experts are coming in and it's becoming less effective because everyone's teaching the same thing. Everyone's blending in. But that is the industry norm for us. Like there's 90% of this online marketing space literally thinks how-to content is the right way. So that is the industry norm. That is an industry norm. Another industry norm for me would be something like survey your audience and give your audience what they want. And obviously, as you guys know me, I say don't do that because now you're letting your audience dictate your message versus creating a message that you can enroll people into. So those are two industry norms. So what I want you guys to do is identify what industry norms are going on in your space that are either outdated, the old way, not the best way. And those are going to be the ones you want to start with. Now, pay close attention to those ones because in the second half of this episode, I'm going to talk about how to use thought reversals outside of just video content and how to use thought reversals in entire marketing campaigns. And it's going to stem from the industry norms. So pay really close attention to what your competitors are teaching, to what most of the audience thinks is true. And keep in mind, this is not pet peeves. This is not, hey, I think this is the right way. This is my pet peeve. I want to go against the pet. This is literally like, what does your audience think is true? They've never questioned it. They just live in this like bubble, and they just never were able to look outside that bubble. What are these things that they're doing that are causing suffering in their life, that are causing a lack of growth, that's stopping them from getting the results that they want? And those are going to be your industry norms. The next one is limiting beliefs. Now, limiting beliefs are going to be a little bit more subjective to the individual, which means that we don't want to start with limiting beliefs because there might be 60% of your audience that has that certain belief. Like, for example, if I say how-to content isn't the best way to grow an audience, 90 to 100% of my audience literally thinks how-to content is how you do it. So when I do a thought reversal video, it's literally going to apply to 90 to 100% of the audience. When I do a limiting belief, like you're not afraid of the camera, not everyone in my niche or industry is afraid of the camera. So now when I go after the limiting belief thought reversal, I'm only going after 40, 50, 60% of the audience, which means that 40, 50, 60% of the people are going to resonate with that one. So we don't always want to start with limiting beliefs, but you have to be able to identify them because those will be very powerful types of content. And the last one is objections. Now, objections aren't necessarily always going to come up in your content per se, but you could use a thought reversal in down your funnel. So if you know someone's going to use the money objection against you, you could do a thought reversal on how not investing in programs is actually costing you money, not saving you money. You could do a thought reversal like that. And as people get into the pitch or on your sales page, you can include those objection thought reversal videos there. So those are the three things: industry norms, beliefs, and objections. So let's talk about how to actually put one together. So let's use the example, how-to content is how you add value. So that's the belief. How-to content is how you add value and grow an audience online. The first line is just going to be me calling out the belief. So I would say how-to content is not the best way to grow an audience and not the best way to grow a business online. So I'm just going against the belief. You just want to say state the belief that it's old, it's bad, or it's the old way, it's not the best way, something along those lines. Now what we want to do is we want to take a step back. So when we take a step back, what we're doing is we're just saying, hey, look, because the first line is going to be very aggressive. It's going to grab attention. People are going to pay attention to it. We want to take a step back because we're kind of slapping people across the face. We're just literally saying, hey, I know you thought this thing was real. This is your reality. Nope. You're going against it. So people are going to want to defend their belief. So what we want to do is take a step back. And you just say something along the lines of, hey, look, I understand why you think that. All the content gurus out there are telling you, add value, do how-to content, and that's the best way to grow online. In fact, they have probably done how-to content and grown online. So I get why you think that, and it's totally fine. So now what we do is we kind of put them at ease a little bit. And then we move into the discredit. And we use what we call slide of mouth patterns. So there's 16 of them, and I'm going to give you a couple of them today. But in this case, all I'm going to use is what we would call a counterexample. And a counterexample is an example that they would know, not like my own testimonials or my own social proof or my own case studies, but a third-party example that they would know that goes against the belief. And I used one in this podcast episode. I said, Gary Vaynerchuk grew the fastest out of anyone and didn't start by using how-to content. He did something else. And you can't argue against that. Everyone knows that. Everyone knows who he is. Everyone saw his content. Everyone knows he doesn't use traditional how-to content. So all I would say is how-to content is not how you grow an audience fast online. I understand why you think that. All the online gurus and everyone's telling you do online how-to content, do online content, or tutorial videos, and that's how you add value and grow an audience. But look at Gary Vaynerchuk. He grew faster than anyone has and probably ever will, and didn't use a single traditional how-to video. And in 3 or 4 sentences, I completely dismantled the entire belief, showed that it was flawed, showed that it wasn't the best way. But most importantly, and this is what I really want you guys to grasp, is I created demand in that moment. I created demand for knowing what Gary Vaynerchuk actually did. And that sets up the rest of the video. Now, imagine if you did that in an entire marketing campaign, the power that that actually has. So if I was to finish up the video, I would just say, so what did Gary Vaynerchuk actually do? Well, he used thought reversal videos. He played into identity and beliefs. He reinforced the identity of the entrepreneur. And then now what's happening is everyone's going, oh my gosh, yeah, he did. And then I move into, so how do you do it? And now we get into the how-to part of the video. Well, if you want to do a thought reversal video, you do blah, 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 blah. And I can now lay down the new way or the new belief, and people are going to latch onto that like hotcakes. So again, you state the belief, how it's wrong, it's bad, it's the old way. Generally, you're going to want to start with industry norms. Then you can start doing personal limiting beliefs. So state the belief, how it's wrong, bad, the old way, take a step back, let them know it's okay that they think that, then discredit it. So what we talked about so far was the counter example. Another example is using a metaphor. So you can use a metaphor in that case to show how the belief is flawed. You can also chunk up, which is applying the belief to everyone or all the time. So if I said, working hard guarantees success, or someone's told me that, I would say, okay, does everyone who work hard become successful? And the answer is obviously no. So I applied the belief to everyone. Does everyone who work hard become successful? The answer is obviously no. So boom, in that one sentence, we showed how the belief was flawed. And we say, so what does every successful person do? And I can go any direction I want. I can say they have the right mindset, they had the confidence, they had whatever. So those are 3 ways you can discredit a belief. There's 16 of them, but we're just going to cover 3 today. So counterexample, chunking up, and metaphor. All right. So what I want to talk about now is how do we use thought reversal videos outside of video? Because remember, this is just a concept. You guys can use thought reversals on your own limiting beliefs. And that's something that I've learned to do. I've learned to identify what's the limiting belief that I have that's stopping my business growth or causing fear in my life. And how can I thought reversal myself, basically to give myself a new perspective. And that's all we're doing. We're giving people a new perspective. So for example, if, let's just use you guys. We have, 100 or a couple hundred people listening, or however many people listening to this podcast. There's going to be 100 different interpretations of this podcast. Someone might say this podcast sucks. Someone might say it's great. Someone might say it's okay. And they're going to walk away thinking, okay, that podcast sucked. That was great. That was okay. And they're not going to realize it's just a different perspective, and they can choose any perspective they want. So what I've learned to do is understand that if I have a belief, or I have something going on in my life, or I have some kind of block, it's because the only reason why I have that block is because of the perspective I'm choosing to hold. And if I don't want that block anymore, all I need to do is choose a new perspective. So I can use these thought reversals on myself. Now, here's how this whole idea of thought reversals came into play. Here's how thought reversals were created. I was basically working in my garage. I don't remember how much money we were making at the time. We were probably somewhere in the range of $250,000 to $500,000 a year. And I actually started watching a lot of like Gary Vaynerchuk videos, even Grant Cardone a little bit, but you started watching a lot of these like new type of entrepreneurs coming up and growing like really fast because of the content they were doing. And I started to realize like what they were doing was taking these really common thoughts in the space and giving new ways to look at it. And I was like, okay, it's perspective, like I didn't call it perspective shifting at the time, but I started doing it. I started playing around with it. I started messing around with it. And I actually remember the very first thought reversal that I did was in the garage. It was like probably 80 degrees outside, which means it was probably 250 degrees in the garage because it got super hot in there. And I did this video on how-to content isn't the best way to add value. And the thing took off. It started getting a ton of shares, a ton of comments, a ton of reactions. And I was like, okay, cool, we're on to something. But I didn't have the thought reversal format at the time. I didn't understand what it was. I just knew, hey, I'm just getting someone to look at something differently. That's all I did. There was no format of what we were doing. And then I started coaching with Jim Fortin, who started teaching me slide of mouth patterns. And he taught them to me so that I could be a better coach. And I started to realize, wow, slide of mouth patterns, all they're doing is discrediting beliefs. And so I started to form them together and blend them together. And I had this process and this framework that I had not shared yet that I thought would be what a thought reversal is, like an easy framework. And it's the same framework that I taught you guys today. And I put it into action. But at the time, when I finally put this into action, when I finally discovered the thought reversal process and we were testing it with videos and I was like, wow, this works in almost every video we're doing, I had killed off a $500,000 a year business. It was at the end of 2017. You guys have probably heard the story already, but I'd killed off this business because I didn't enjoy it. I didn't enjoy working Monday through Sunday, like basically 7 days a week, 8 to 10 hours a day, not being able to take a vacation. I didn't like what we were talking about. I ended up going $40,000 in debt. And if you've ever been in debt to that degree, you know exactly how that feels. You have the pit, you know, that feeling in the pit of your stomach. It feels hopeless. You're like, you're kind of like throwing spaghetti against the wall. It feels like you're just in a pit that you're never going to get out of. And one of the traits that I had as an entrepreneur was I'm not afraid to just continue to try and try and try and try. I was able to thought reversal myself out of like this thought of what debt was, which was, you know, worst case scenario, I can move back in with my in-laws. I still have a roof over my head. I can file bankruptcy. So I started to thought reversal this idea of what debt actually was. And that was the first step for me of seeing how thought reversals changed my life. But what we did is, and you guys probably know the story if you've listened for a while, I ended up hiring Taylor, who is now my integrator and COO of our company. And I was $40,000 in debt and didn't think I could actually hire her or pay for her. I talked to Jim Fortin, my mentor at the time, and he just said, if you're going to be the business, if you told me in a year you're going to have $1 million business, if you believe that to be true, why are you like not hiring the help that you need? So I hired the help that I needed. But I had this concept of thought reversals. I had this idea of what the video 4X was going to be, which has been our methodology and it's been the new direction of our company. And what I started to do is I started to use thought reversals to build momentum. And this is why I love thought reversals, because thought reversals actually start to create demand for something. And as long as you're doing thought reversals that are in alignment with your offer, you start to create demand for your offer. So if you guys remember the beginning of this episode, I gave that example of how-to content not being the best way. And I said Gary Vaynerchuk didn't use it and he grew the fastest. In that moment, what I just did is I created demand for the audience to want to learn what Gary Vaynerchuk actually did. It was a demand creation thing. So if you can create demand with thought reversal videos and have it in alignment with your offer, you actually start to create demand for your offer without people realizing it. So what I did at the time, and this is what really allowed me to scale out our business and the Video 4X effect over the last 2 years. So I think it's been about 2 years and maybe 2 months. And the first year we did over 1.2 million in sales. And this year we're on pace to be a multi-million-dollar company. And this is the first 2 years of this because of the concept I'm about to teach you guys. So what we did is the Video 4X effect was basically addressing, at the moment, Video 4X effect has changed over the years, but what it was in that moment and what it was then was the Video 4X effect is going to fix video inside of your business. And so the problem that we realized that a lot of people had with video content was video was becoming very popular. People wanted to use video. The problem is when they started to use video, it created all these problems they didn't realize that they were going to have. They would hire a video editor. The video editor just knew how to edit video. The video editor didn't know marketing. So then when you start to use video, you create all these problems and you give them to the entrepreneur. So now the entrepreneur has to script the videos. Now the entrepreneur has to figure out where they're going to fit in the funnel. Now the entrepreneur has to come up with the titles. They have to do all this extra work to use video when they thought all they needed to do was hire a videographer or video editor. They didn't realize all these other things are going to come up. So the Video 4X effect essentially solved that problem. The Video 4X effect basically showed you how to create a creative director inside of your business. So what I started to do was we started to use thought reversals that address that. So the very first thing was, well, most people think a video editor will solve their problem of video. And so what was our very first thought reversal? Well, our very first thought reversal was a video editor won't fix video inside of your business. Okay, so that was number one. Number two is we realized that most people don't realize they're going to have a bigger, they're going to create a bigger marketing problem by using a video editor. How are they being deployed? How do we get attention on it? How do we title these things? Where do we actually post it? So we did another thought reversal video called Your Video Editor Will Not Know This Trick. And we essentially walked them through how to get views on their videos for as low as a penny. And we started to do more and more thought reversal videos like this. And we started to do more and more thought reversal videos that were addressing the beliefs that people had that we knew were going to cause some kind of suffering. We reversed it. We ended that suffering for them. But really what we were doing is exposing problems that they didn't know they had or problems they were currently experiencing and explaining why they were currently explaining it. But it was thought reversing this belief that a video editor or videographer is the sole solution to getting video working inside of your business. And we did about 3 to 5 of those. And here's what started to happen. What started to happen was people would email us and message us about how to work with us before anything was for sale. We didn't have anything for sale. These were what we would call the runway videos. This is what I call the demand creation part of a launch or selling anything online. If it's not about just building a warm audience and getting people to watch your content, that's great. That's better than nothing. But if you can build an audience while creating demand for what you're going to sell them, that's the golden ticket. And that is what we were doing. We were using thought reversal videos that created demand for an offer that we were coming up with. And what started to happen, because we executed on this perfectly, was people started to email us and ask how to work with us before anything was for sale. And then when we actually sold something, it was bonkers. We started getting all these people signing up with us. And this is actually how we got Caitlin Batcher as our client, 2 years ago. She's been with us ever since, is because of those videos. And I remember specifically asking her, why did you sign up with us? And she goes, the videos that you put out describe the exact problem that I'm currently going through with video. I thought all I needed was an editor or a video person. And then I became the bottleneck because now I had the script. Now I had the title. Now I had to come up with the content topics. Then I had to figure out the posting. And you perfectly described everything. But it was all because of those thought reversals. And so those thought reversal videos actually saved me. Now imagine in that moment how effective our campaign would have been had I just started doing how-to videos, how to script a video, how to post a video, how to edit a video. Those would not have the same effect of demand creation that the thought reversals did. There's a difference between just teaching someone something so they're getting something out of it versus taking away a belief that is actually causing suffering in their life. It's much more beneficial to remove a block from someone than to give them more information on how to do something. Releasing of the blocks is usually what gives people the transformation or the results they want, more so than giving them the tutorials on how to do something. And that's what we did. And this led me to realizing, how do we actually use thought reversals in everything? And I use them all the time. I use them on myself. I use them in conversations with my wife. Just don't tell her that. I use them with my kids. And it's not like I'm doing this to get my way or anything like that, because it can't really work like that. In order for a thought reversal to be really effective, it has to come from a place of, I want to end the suffering, not I want to be right. Because if you tend to be right, you start to explain in your videos. You start to explain why you're right versus showing how the current belief is flawed and causing suffering in their life. But you guys can use these everywhere. I use them on myself, but more specifically, there's 3 areas that I want to talk about for the rest of this podcast, which is how to use them. And 3 areas are going to be emails, ads, webinars, and video series. And I'm going to lump webinars and video series into one thing because that's basically sales mechanism. So we have sales mechanism, we have ads, and we have emails. Now, where it becomes really, really fun, and if you guys are really paying attention to what I just went through, the story I just told you, was that yes, we use thought reversals to kind of pull us out of that hole of being $40,000 in debt, and we scaled out. But the magic sauce wasn't the fact we were using thought reversal in videos. The fact of the matter was we were using thought reversal to develop an entire marketing campaign. I'm going to say that one more time. If you really want thought reversal videos to bring you the best results, thought reversals to bring you the best results, you have to look at thought reversals as an entire marketing campaign, not individual videos. Say that one more time. If you want them to be the most effective, you use the thought reversal concept as an entire marketing campaign, not individual videos. So let me explain. What we did when we first started was we addressed the entire big problem, which was your video editor. Hiring a video editor is not going to fix video in your business. If you really want to use video, do not hire a video editor. So what we did was we started to do those top of funnel videos. So we started to do 3 to 5 videos addressing those main things. Well, guess what? Then we did a training on that. What do you think our webinar was about? It wasn't about some random thing. It was going further and deeper on that thought reversal topic. It was, how do you fix video in your business when a video editor or without a video editor, or how do you get a video editor to fix video in your business? It was a training on that. Then what do you think our ad said? What do you think our email said? It all had the same type of stuff. It was the same message. It was a thought reversal message through the entire marketing campaign. When we did our last launch was literally how-to content doesn't help you grow an audience. And our video series was called The Content Revolution. There's a revolution going on right now. So all of our top of funnel content talked about that. It talked about how-to content wasn't the best way to grow an audience. We used Gary Vaynerchuk as a counterexample. Our ad said the exact same thing. The copy in our ad was a thought reversal topic that continued that same conversation. When people got into our video series, our webinar, we got a little more, we elaborated on it a little more. But if you look, and we put everything into like one document for you guys, and you see our top of funnel content, you see our opt-in, you see our emails, you see our ads, you see our video series, it's the same thing in each one of those phases. The deeper they get into the funnel, the more we elaborate on it. That's it. So instead of looking at as thought reversal as individual topics that are going to get momentum in the top of the funnel, look at it as an entire campaign from A to Z. So what most people will do is they'll go and they'll say like, oh, Brandon, I love this thought reversal concept. And they do all these videos and they get all this traction. And they're like, oh, this is the most engaging content I've ever created. But then they stop there. They go, great, I have this audience that's paying attention to me. I need to get them on a webinar so I can sell them something. What am I going to come up with? And they try to come up with like very juicy type of headlines and very like juicy type of ad copy just to try to pull that audience in. And then they go to the webinar and they try to like be very slick and show a lot of case studies and show all the social proof, and they try to teach. And they don't realize the reason why the audience exists at the top of the funnel was because of the message at the top of the funnel. So if your thought reversal videos are pulling people in, continue that message for the entire campaign. So what we did in our last launch was all about how-to content doesn't grow the audience because you're blending in. And then when people got onto our video series, we talked deeper on it. We talked about the content circle of death. We went a little bit deeper on how the content circle of death is really trapping people. We talked about how survey results don't actually give you great content because now you're losing your message. We use a lot of counterexamples. So we started talking about how Gary Vaynerchuk doesn't use any how-to content and he grew the fastest. We used Lewis Howes as another counterexample inside of our video series about how he used to do how-to content And then he made the switch to having a very powerful message, and he grew to levels that most people can't. So we used a thought reversal to end this belief that was causing suffering, which is mind-blowing to people. Then what we did is we continued that all the way through, because if they're paying attention to top of funnel content, then they want more of it. So we just gave them more of it in our ad copy. Then we went even deeper inside of our video series. And then just like any good author would in any book, and you know what? If you guys pay attention to the books that you read, the best authors in the world do this. Like I'm reading Simon Sinek's book, and he's a master at this. He's a master at saying, here's what people are currently doing. Here's why it doesn't work. So he's basically discrediting the belief. Then he backs it up with social proof. He backs it up with CEOs at Microsoft and this company over here and this company over here. Every good author does this, but no one does this in marketing campaigns. And this is what thought reversals basically do. And if you look and pay attention to our video series, that's exactly what we did. It was finding out what thought reversal videos people were really resonating with, leaning into that, developing an entire marketing campaign. So our emails and our ad copy was all about that. Then as it got deeper into our funnel, we expanded on it. We found more social proof. We found more counterexamples. We found and used more metaphors to continue showing, here's what you're doing. Here's why it doesn't work. Here's why this belief of why it works is flawed. Here's all the examples of people that are doing exactly what we're saying. And when you can do that, you end the suffering for people. You give them a new perspective. You blow their mind. And now you get them ready to take action. So remember, what we started to do when we first started out this whole thing was thought reversaling this idea of how to use video in your business. As we evolved, we found more thought reversal topics. We started to put more stuff out there. And as we started to see what people were resonating with the most, we leaned into those in our entire marketing campaigns. So what I want to leave you guys with today is that yes, using thought reversals in your content will help you create some of the most engaging content that you've ever created. But when you learn to use thought reversal videos as entire marketing campaigns, that's where the magic really starts to happen. That's when you start to get results like we've seen. In the last 2 years, we've taken this brand new thing. I was $40,000 in debt to now this year on pace to be a multi-million-dollar company in just 2 years because of this concept right here. We focused on the evolvement. We let this evolve. We did more thought reversal videos, paid attention to what people were really people were really resonating with. We pay attention to the trends. We pay attention to what most people are doing that's actually causing suffering in their life. We thought reversal those, and then we build out entire campaigns on a thought reversal theme. So for you guys, what I want to leave you with is, yes, use thought reversals, but pay attention to which one people are really resonating with, and see how you can start to develop marketing campaigns around that one theme. How can you thought reversal them throughout an entire sales funnel? Not doing different thought reversals, but continuing to thought reversal the same thing, getting deeper and deeper and deeper into it until the offer is made. That is how you build out $1 million campaigns. So with that being said, what I want to encourage you guys to do is to hop over to our New Generation Entrepreneur Facebook group and post your biggest breakthrough on this episode. Go in there, let me know what thought reversal theme you plan on using in your next campaign. And like always, if you guys enjoyed this episode, let me know by leaving me a 5-star review on iTunes. The more reviews we get, the more traction we get, the more episodes we can put out for you guys, the more value we can add for you guys. And at the end of the day, I'd be so appreciative and grateful for that. So thank you guys so much. We'll see you on the next episode. Hey guys, thank you so much for checking out another episode of the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, go below, hit the subscribe button, and make sure you click on that bell icon and get notified every time we drop a new episode. Now, if you're looking for the show notes, we have them linked underneath this video, as well as our social media handles and some links to free training and offers that we drop from time to time to help you guys even further. So go check those out if you're interested. And thank you so much for tuning in to the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast.